Hello YouTube, Oliver G here. You are walking through the 3rd arrondissement of Paris, the Upper Marais, and we're starting at one of my favorite places, the National Archives. We'll be heading up towards the Marché des Enfants Rouges. You'll see it all in this video. You'll be hearing a podcast, an Earful Tower podcast episode from the countdown season where we spent a full day in this district recommending things to do. It's me and my wife Lynn talking. And this whole YouTube series is sponsored by LivTours, LivTours, and I asked them for their top recommendation in the district, and they said, for us, the 3rd is a happening neighborhood that's all about food. A visit to the new Marais isn't complete without stopping by the vibrant covered market, the Marché des Enfants Rouges. That's just what I said, that's where we're going. It's closed on Mondays, so plan accordingly. If you crave a guided food experience of the 3rd, go with a local who will not only share the best street food and French delicacies of this quartier, but will share the stories and cultural context behind all the culinary goodness. So there you go. You're going to see the Marché des Enfants Rouges towards the end of this walk. And if you want to do a tour, a semi-private food tour or a private food tour with LivTours, they're linked below. They sponsor this whole season. Check them out. Great tours in Paris. Let's continue with the walk, a little closer look at this archive museum, which I love, and then further north into the 3rd arrondissement. Here we go. Together, we're going around the whole of Paris.
Yes, we are.
20 districts. We're going 20 all the way down to 1, and we're up to number 3.
Not much left to go now.
It's kind of crazy. I was just looking through all the notes that we've taken, and it's pages and pages and pages and pages.
Yeah,
and pages.
we've done so much.
If you're just joining us, the idea is we spend a full day in each of these districts, and we've just completed the 3rd. And what we're going to do in this podcast episode is we're going to explain the vibe of the 3rd arrondissement. You might know it as the Marais, the Upper Marais. And then we're going to tell you a few things we did and whether you should do them or not.
Yeah, exactly. A few tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks. And at the very end, we're going to give you our highly official scientific ranking out of 100.
Exactly.
You know, I notice a lot that when I share this online, the people who aren't listeners to the podcast get really upset. They're like, you can't quantify an arrondissement. It's not that scientific.
Watch out.
So that's the idea for today. But in brief, did you like the 3rd?
Yeah, I love the 3rd.
Did you like it more than the 4th? You'll have to wait and find out, everybody. Here comes some original music related to the 3rd arrondissement. That was from the talented fingers of Pres Maxson. This is what he wrote for this one. He said, for the 3rd arrondissement, some fun and musical games. The track for Picasso's arrondissement, more on Picasso in a second, is my take on a mid-2000s era rock tune called Libre comme Picasso by Pascal Obispo, or Obispo perhaps, whose name is an anagram for Pablo Picasso.
Oh,
big fan of anagrams.
Very clever.
In the middle, I broke it down into a little section for arpeggiated triads.
Because we all know what that means, of course.
He wrote in brackets because troisième, of course.
Yes.
And then we end with the gorgeous song Paris by Yael Naïm, which I chose because it's one of my favorite Paris songs, but it's also a waltz, meaning that it has 3 beats per measure.
I love it. I'm obsessed with all these little inside jokes.
The matryoshka, what was it? The matryoshka of music? Yes. Pres Maxson, his music.
It's just like a gift within a gift within a gift.
Yes. Yes, it's an arpeggiated triad.
That's
within
exactly what it is. And speaking of triads, let's get in to what we did in the third. What
What's
do you
a
think?
triad and what's a triad?
I don't know. I'm thinking a tripod. Are you thinking tripod?
Let's talk about the vibe of the third a little bit.
All right.
I think it's a little bit dear to your heart as a fashionista and a...
Yeah, well, I feel like it's a very sociable arrondissement. So many cafes and restaurants and bars. It's just like spilling over everywhere. A lot of great people watching.
I noticed that
And
too.
especially on Rue de Bretagne.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just so good. A lot of models and people working in like fashion studios and that sort of thing. A lot of galleristas.
Galleristas and the fashionistas meet in an explosion of culture.
It's just so good.
To paint a picture for the people who aren't really familiar with sort of geographically. So these districts start in the top right corner of this big circle of Paris and spiral anti-clockwise in. So the lower number of districts, the more central you are. So when we're in the third, we're pretty much central Paris.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the map. The third is it's a really weird shape. It's like it's like
a skewed triangle.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like the head of an animal. Kind of like it looks like a big square going down to the nose there.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard to explore because the fourth below it is just a little box. Mm-hmm. Whereas you could walk from one corner, the bottom right here, to the top left. That would be a very long walk. So it's actually a lot bigger than you. I say very long, maybe what?
Yeah, I mean, it's still quite a small arrondissement. But,
for sure.
But yeah.
For sure. But it's an unusual shape. This was a hard one for us to do because like we've been there an awful lot. We know so many of the places and the restaurants and the bars. And to pick what to do on the Google Maps here, straight away in this tiny arrondissement, you've got the Carnavalet Museum, Musée Cognac J, the Hunting and Nature Museum, the Chasse et de la Nature.
I do like that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Picasso Museum, the Musée des Arts et Métiers. There's lots, too many for a one-day visit. So this is the kind of place you want to be based if you want to have loads of things to do on your doorstep. I haven't even mentioned the museum, the Archives Museum. So there's lots we're going to get through. We'll recommend a lot of things to do in the sort of next bit of this podcast. But the cafe culture is something we should focus on a little bit.
Yeah, what do you think about it?
I think when I think of all the other districts that we went to, I don't think anything compares to the third.
Yeah.
For just the sheer number of places to sit and have either...
There are so many options. There are not really many like dud streets. You know, it's just very packed.
Whereas in some of the other districts we've been to, like
the 7th.
7th or the 16th.
It's beautiful and it's big and you have some great highlights, but there are also like quite a lot of
That's
nothing streets.
If you were to walk from the nearest cafe in the 7th, the nearest cafe to us to the next nearest good cafe is maybe, let's say, 8 minutes walk or something. And then to the next one, another 5 minutes walk. Whereas in the third arrondissement, it feels like there's 2 decent cafes on every street.
Oh yeah, it's very condensed.
And even one bad coffee shop. You know, like a French one where they just serve like quick espresso, get in, get out.
Ricard.
Same with the bistros.
Yeah.
Like just typical French food, new restaurants, very trendy.
Yeah.
I think this is the new Marais, whereas last week in the 4th is the old Marais.
Yeah,
like
so this is the North Marais.
the Haut Marais, the Upper Marais.
Exactly.
I think it's going to score pretty well because it ticked a lot of the boxes. Did you think it was like good for tourists?
Oh, you kidding?
Do you think it's a good place to live?
Yes.
To stay?
Yeah, for tourists. Yeah, definitely.
Me too.
Definitely.
And expensive?
Yeah. I mean, you can get away with, you know, having a cheapish night if you want or day. But yeah, of course.
The only thing that was missing from this one that we've had for the past like 4 or 5 arrondissements, it wasn't on the Seine. It's inland. Let's go through some of the things that we did because we really packed a lot into this one.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I am.
Time to turn the tables.
All right.
You were the host.
Okay, I'm excited. Where to start? So many questions.
At the beginning.
I will start with, so for this day in the 3rd, you actually headed out first alone without me and our son Otis. And you had breakfast. Tell me a little bit more about that.
And went to a museum that I don't think you've been to.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
So I missed out on that one.
So breakfast was... you know what? It was one of your bucket list items was to have breakfast alone on a terrace.
Yeah,
Why
I know.
did you say that out of interest?
On my bucket
Yeah,
list?
what was the...
Well, I just feel like there's something that is so achievable, but in daily life, very easy to forget. You know, you just don't really think about it.
Is it the appeal getting away from me and the boy, or is the appeal like...
No, it's not like that. The appeal is just to sit and just with your own thoughts for a while, you know? And do something very, simple. Just have a breakfast. Maybe have a book. Maybe not. Just, watch Paris wake up. And
Well, that's exactly what I did. I didn't know which one to choose because there's so many places. And as with everything on this show, I decided to pick something that I haven't done before, right? Because this show, like especially in the areas we know really well, you pick something new so we can sort of review it. And a listener to the show, I'm sure she's listening right now, Kasia Dietz, she lives in the district, and she said, I've got tips for you coming to my neighborhood. A few people did, actually, but she recommended 46th and 3rd.
I never heard of it.
It sounds like it might be named after a street in Manhattan, I bet.
It does.
46th and 3rd. Is that how it works? 46th and 3rd.
I think so.
But don't you do 40... You know, there's New Yorkers listening going,
I know, they got it.
But isn't it all numbers going, like... sideways, and then the streets all have names the other way, so it's like 46th and Broadway or something like that.
I don't know. I'm sure there's both.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're way
46th
off.
and 3rd arrondissement. Maybe it's that. You can tell we haven't done our research. But it's about the cafe, and this cafe, it's on a pretty cool street, which sort of gives you a bit of a taste of this district as well. Tobago. Route Tobago, or Tourbigo, perhaps you pronounce it. Well, it used to be really busy. I used to cycle that road to get home when I first moved to Paris, and it was almost a highway.
Yeah.
But now they've made it...
It was like every hour was the witching hour for traffic.
Yeah. Which was fun to cycle along in those days when I was young and wild.
And reckless.
Yeah, but now it's majority bike lanes, at least half, right? And so... when I went to this cafe, I saw it was right by the bike lane. The cafe interior, it wasn't anything that blew me away or whatever. Staff were super friendly, but I sat out the front, and it felt like I was right in the thick of it because everyone was going to work on their bicycles. Felt like I was in Amsterdam or something. I just got a flat white and an avocado kind of toast. Oh, you know what?
What?
The avocado toast had popcorn. In it on the side. Yeah, I didn't talk to you about this. It was cool. Yeah, different.
Did it work?
It worked. Yeah.
Wow.
That's the 3rd arrondissement, baby. There's all kinds of things happening. So that place was good. Check it out for sure. Just little small tables on the side, just looking out over everything.
Okay,
really nice.
cool.
And then I went past my old favorite, Angel of Tobago, which has been in my Paris guide, PDF guide since the beginning. It's like a sort of hidden, it's a caryatide, sort of near that Arts and Métiers Museum with the Statue of Liberty, so we didn't make it into this time.
It's like this huge sort of sculpture on the wall, I guess.
The kind of thing everyone misses.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people like, especially those who like angels. And a shout out to Corinne, regular listener, long-time listener, who this is like her home away from home, this area. So she'll be listening now going, yes, yes! And this is the bit that you don't know about. The museum I chose to pop into by myself is the Archives Museum. Now I know what you're thinking, and I know what people at home are thinking, and I know what some people, Americans I met recently, are thinking. Boring.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it does sound boring.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, the archives.
Ugh. But let me paint a
Dusty.
picture for you to... I kind of don't want to ruin this because I think it's so brilliant that it's so quiet, but it needs to be seen, I think. First, have you seen the latest Mission Impossible movie?
Yes.
Okay, so
I think.
Tom Cruise goes to visit the baddies in Paris. I think it's like KGB or Russians or something.
I was thinking about Top Gun. And I just lied because I haven't seen it.
So
Never mind.
The new Mission Impossible, or the latest, is probably 5 years old now, but it's set in Paris, and he runs around Paris a lot. And the bad guy's headquarters are in the archives, so he walks straight across the courtyard.
I have to rewatch this.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good one, at least for the Paris scenes. And this archive museum, you go in, it's free to enter. Great, fantastic courtyard. Like probably the best courtyard for a museum in Europe. Whoa,
amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. Do you stand by this?
Also a secret garden. So it's got the secret garden.
Yeah.
No one knows about this. But what I say to people when I go in, I was like, archives, kind of boring, but you want to see these opulent rooms. It's like Versailles in the center of Paris. No one ever goes in, totally quiet. But the other day, when I went in there, for the first time, I went upstairs and explored up these grand,
and
amazing
it's free
staircases.
To walk around?
Yeah, free.
Yeah.
And what's upstairs is a real treasure. Firstly, the rooms are amazing, but secondly, the archives You know, we're thinking boring archives. This is like Napoleon's handwritten last will and testament. Marie Antoinette's last letter of whatever it was. And they're, like, you see the right next to each other. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, whoa, this stuff is really cool.
Oh,
really
now
cool.
I really want to go.
Yeah, and it's free.
Bring me to the archives, baby.
That's the third arrondissement for you, baby. So that was really cool. And then that was it. Went back home. The other thing, though, when you're going in and when you're leaving that big courtyard, you get this great view over the rooftops of the Marais. This higgledy-piggledy zinc rooftops. Iconic. And it's a shame because there's so many other museums that I wanted to go to, but we managed 3. And
I think that's pretty good going.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to what else we did. The other museums. We went in first and we met Augusta, the photographer. And we did a big walk. And that's where we sort of really realized the cafe culture.
Yeah, it just kind of hit us.
Were there any... I mean, I've got up the list of everything that we did. Fringe coffee shop was pretty cool.
Yeah, you just popped in there.
I've always been a fan of it because they had a crack on the glass out the front.
Yeah.
And for years they'd written, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And you guys at home who know...
Cohen fans.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but well, no.
Oh.
I was going to say
The
those
secret's
who know...
out.
Because even on their window they didn't write who it was from.
So it's like, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Oh,
or if,
very
well,
cool.
some people might not know who Cohen is either.
Oh, yeah.
So
Talking about Leonard.
Oh, well, you giving it all away. Leonard Cohen quote on the front window is always a win in my books. We also went into Wild on the Moon because it was so hot.
Yeah, we need to rehydrate.
They're going to lose. The district's going to lose points just because of Wild on the Moon.
Just
because.
Well, they are wildly over the moon priced, overpriced.
No, I mean it's unfair. It was cool, but it was
it's
like
all
a
nice.
juice was €10.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate hipster. I want to pay, half a day's salary on the juice.
Half a day.
I don't know. It depends what you do, I guess.
Juice for €10 though. That's a new one.
Yeah.
That is a new one. And I've got an apology to make.
Oh.
I've got an apology to make to the listeners, except for the eagle-eyed ones who noticed this. Last week we talked about the Carrette.
Oh, yeah.
Place where they had expensive Coca-Colas. Mm-hmm. Turns out that's in the 3rd arrondissement.
Oh.
Oops. Yeah,
what?
So that's the first time we've been wrong.
Place de Vosges is like divided?
That's right. The north side of it is in the 3rd arrondissement.
Really?
So the archives is right on the border. That street, right through the middle of them, is really good. Rue Franc-Bourgeois. Really, really cool street. You should walk that.
Yeah, is that it's like good for shopping as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good for shopping. Mm-hmm. Lots of cool little treats on either side. You're straddling the arrondissement.
I can't believe Carrette is in the 3rd. But well, okay.
And I think I said last week, I said something like, oh, you're going to lose points for those Coca-Colas. And now...
Oh, no.
Yeah. So the 3rd's going to suffer twice.
So they have expensive juices and Cokes. Okay. Good to know.
Expensive, we're saying that because if you're staying in the Ritz, you're going to think they're cheap.
Yeah, sure.
But based on the rest of Paris.
Yeah.
Like you go into the supermarket.
No, but also
it's
very nice. Like it's a nice experience.
It's a delicious Coca-Cola and delicious... Anyway, another thing that we did with Augusta, the photographer, we went into the Marché des Enfants Rouges.
Yeah, I love this spot. It's kind of like a small-ish covered food market with restaurants.
I'm torn.
You're torn? Why?
Yeah, because I've been in there, I don't know, 20 times or something. I've never walked out going, that was awesome.
Really? Oh, I like to meet for a burger there.
You like to...
I like to meet for a burger, sit by the counter, and have a good time.
I feel like you're trying to make yourself like more of a local than you really are.
I'm not a local at all.
How many times have you met for a burger?
Maybe 3 times.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And I've liked all 3.
Yeah, that burger place is good. Except I feel like when you go in there, I always feel a bit confused in there. I'm always like, what's really going on in here?
Yeah, it is a bit intimidating. It's a lot of international foods, which is cool. A lot of choices, but it's like you don't know where to start or end.
And Augusta broke off from us to take some pictures, and she said that she noticed a lot of confused tourists in there. I think she said Americans. She's American too. I think she said like a lot of people like going, but where should we eat?
Yeah.
Where's the spot?
No, but also this is kind of confusing because like, are you queuing up here and you order here and you pay there? And where do you get the food? It's a little bit of a mess.
Yeah.
But,
And a lot of
Just
people
like stand for a couple of minutes and observe, and you'll be fine.
And a lot of people say you've got to go to the Marché des Enfants Rouges, but the problem with that is, where do you go once you're in there?
Yeah.
You know, so you get in there and
Go
you're
to
like,
the
now
burger
what?
spot.
It's like saying you've got to go to Disneyland, and then you get to Disneyland and you're like,
You're
where
stuck
do
in
I
the
start?
pirate's
What's
cave.
the best?
Yeah.
I've still never been to the French Disney. Is it Disneyland, Disney World? One day.
One day.
One day when Otis is older, perhaps. Then we went into that big park that was closed.
Yeah. Big part of the park was closed.
Do you remember the name of that park?
It's the Square du Temple.
Du Temple, yeah. On a nice day, that park is a perfect, picturesque little mini park.
Yeah.
Bigger than...
It's got a little pond. It's got little, like, chicken birds running around.
Yeah, what is that
I don't know. They got really weird birds.
Yeah, they got like a scientific experiment of a duck in there.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It looks like a duck crossed with a chicken crossed with a rooster.
Yeah.
Crossed with
And
something.
it just lives there.
Crossed with something you'd find in one of the stalls at the Marché des Enfants Rouges. Just walking around makes for a great picture. And there's table tennis tables and like a.
It's like a little pergola.
Yeah.
Pagoda.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No one knows. Gosh, we're coming off as unknowledgeable in this one. Then we finished that sort of walk with Augusta, went into some of the really small parks, like near where the Swedish Institute is, which is a really cool little stop-off.
Yeah, good cafe.
Like there's this square, I think it's called Georges Cain, and it's got all these ancient...
what?
C-A-I-N.
Cain. Oh, okay.
Cain.
Cain.
You don't need to pronounce it, you just need to get in there. It's a very small little dog park, but they've got all these ancient like relics on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I went in there with Cara Black, the author, once.
It's a rose garden, isn't it? It's just loads of like flowers and roses everywhere.
Are we thinking about the same one? Are you thinking about the one...
No, I'm thinking about the one we went with Augusta, the photographer.
Yeah. Because there's that
statue
other
in the
rose
middle.
garden too.
Yeah.
Another
not thinking about that
I'll
one.
do a whole post.
Loads of rose gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a cool experience way back for the people who've been following for a while. Cara Black, the crime author, I've visited some of the places where she set scenes from her book on a live video, and that little park was, I can't exactly remember, but it's from Murder in the Marais, her first book. She probably can't even remember. And it's like there was an entrance to the catacombs there, or like a Nazi meeting or something like that. It was cool to be there with the author of the scene.
Of course.
So the little parks are really cool. Augusta left, and you and I did some museum
Hopping.
You know what we actually did that was a bit different is we took Otis home early. Big shout out to Julene, who dared put him to bed and look after
feed
him.
him. Yeah. Wow.
Thanks,
Bravo.
Julene. You know, we get a lot of messages nowadays for people like,
I need a babysitter.
send Julene to us.
Maybe we should start a babysitting service.
But it was cool for us because it meant that we could go into these museums which aren't exactly wheel-friendly and are very small, and you don't want to have a baby going around the Picasso Museum because you don't want him to grab a priceless artifact off the wall
that goat.
and spit on it.
Oh, yeah.
The what?
You know that goat? He would have loved that, the Picasso goat.
Yeah. But first we went to the Musee Carnavalet, and this is a museum that everybody should add to the top of their list.
It was amazing. So much better than I thought. I've never been before, and I'm so glad we went.
Well,
Can't wait to go back.
Yeah, let's be honest about this. I said it should be at the top of your list. Do you honestly agree with that?
I think, yeah. Definitely up there. If you're into Paris and the history, and there's so many different sections. It's like architecture. It's all
Architecture,
sorts
ancient history, maps, like models of old things,
like trinkets,
beautiful paintings,
all sorts.
There's that.
It's hard to define. It's just like history of Paris.
It's a bit like Paris itself.
Paris.
Hard to define. We didn't see the half of it, but I was just thinking, is it at the top because Musée d'Orsay, Musée du Louvre? If you're on your first trip to Paris,
yeah, sure, you should probably see some of those. But this is
next level.
Strong
and what
one.
makes it even cooler is it's always been a favorite for people, but it's been closed for the past 5 years while they did a thorough facelift on it. And now it's recently reopened.
And it looks amazing.
I've got a cool story I'm sharing for my next book, but I was there before it opened, and I had an exceptional experience there. I'm saving it. This place is special for me after I got in there. One of the highlights of it that I think a lot of people take photos of is the entry. You go in, there's this big, beautiful, like white hall with a beautiful staircase at the end, and all over the walls are these old Paris signs.
Yeah, and hanging from the ceiling.
Like signs as in like butcher shop or hairdressers. After the Musée du Carnavalet, it sounds like Carnavalet. if you can't understand what's
and this might be a little heads up, because I know I spoke to a woman the other day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I really want to go. It's the one with like the fairground, like the Carnival Museum."
Oh no!
And I was like, "No, that's in the 12th. That's
Musée
totally
des Arts Forains.
exactly like the fairground museum." So she thought they were the same thing, and I was like, "No."
You know that Georges Quint and Musée des Arts Forains, both of them could be Georges Quint and Musée des Arts Forains, because I got corrected on that museum, and now I'm doubting everything. Do you know?
No, I doubt it too.
Know. Okay.
I don't know.
So,
anyways,
it's the other thing to say about the Carnavalet is it's free, which I think is so classy that they let
and they
us
have
in
the
for free.
best air condition.
Then we went to another museum directly just around the corner, the Picasso Museum. I'm torn about Picasso as a man, because I read very recently the book written by his granddaughter, and I suppose you got to take every book that you ever read like this with a pinch of salt, as in, I don't know how true it all is, but she painted him out to be a monster.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you read it as well?
Yeah.
Like horrible, like a horrible man. And it's hard, because we both just read it, it's hard to separate the man from the work. I don't know, there's a whole discussion to get into that.
Yeah, I think that's another subject almost.
It's a whole different subject. But if I had to critique that book, the first 60 pages or 70 pages are written from her memory before she was, do you remember how old?
Like 9?
9.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60 pages in, after all this like slamming on Picasso, she goes, when I turned 9.
I barely have memories before I was, 20?
Yeah, me
5?
But it's a good read if you want to get a glimpse into Picasso, the beautiful Riviera where he spent a lot of time. He had a museum in Antibes as well, which is really cool and worth a look if you're ever down in that part of the world. But also he has a museum in his honor in the Marais, 17th century building, beautiful.
It's huge.
Beautiful.
So many floors.
That staircase going up is worth the price of admission, even if you don't like Picasso.
Yeah.
I was stunned by that. That was beautiful. January 2020, I interviewed, I'm not sure if she's still the curator, but I interviewed Emilia Filippo about the museum, if anyone wants to check that out as well on the podcast. She told me at the time, it stuck with me, 90,000 pieces.
Are you sure?
That's what she said. Either that were in there or that he'd done. I think there's 5,000 pieces in there, but he did 90,000 in his life.
Oh, right.
Imagine
wow.
that. I can't even believe there's 5,000 pieces in there.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot to look at.
Maybe they're all in storage.
Yeah, maybe. But
no, there were loads.
Beautiful building, spread over 3 floors, and really cool to see. Because Picasso, they filmed him in color, and so there's like.
Yeah, you see him like life size, kind of following you around.
I like the way they did it. There's videos of him making something next to the
actual
product.
piece of artwork.
I've not seen anything like that around elsewhere in Paris.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Did you like the art, the museum, the way they set it out?
Yeah, I did. I did. It was very like, you can go up little staircases here and come down another way. It's almost a bit like a labyrinth, and the ceilings get lower and lower the higher up you get, and it's got a good vibe in there, I think.
Do you know what I feel? I was thinking when I was in there is, I felt like there weren't that many like knock your socks off famous Picasso pieces.
Yeah, that's what I was missing.
And you know what I think is that they're loaned out.
They're all in like the bigger museums.
How many times have you seen a Picasso?
But also there's there's the Picasso Museum in Paris and Antibes, 2 big museums just for him.
Dude,
that's.
And then you think
something.
I know there's big Picassos in Pompidou, for example.
Yeah.
The
probably Guernica is that
in? I don't know. That's 4th arrondissement. Forget about that. But also in even Musée d'Orsay, I remember I've seen Picasso works abroad. Yeah. So everybody's probably seen Picasso.
Very prolific.
Good idea. 90,000 paintings and then spread them to every museum in the universe. Yes. But that was a bit of a letdown not to see, the greatest hits.
Yeah. One thing that was cool was to see some of the pieces that were described in the book by his granddaughter.
Why didn't you tell me? What did you see?
Yeah, that picture. No, she just brushed over it really quickly, but it was one of her father, so Picasso's son, Paolo, I think.
Right.
As a little peasant boy, I think it's called.
Is it peasant boy?
I think it's called that. I think the actual artwork is called.
Oh, right.
Something like that.
You know what? I said that
But yeah, it's a very different style. That doesn't look like a Picasso. It just looked more like
I said that he was a horrible man. Like, the way, just to sort of qualify that a little bit, is that he didn't, he had, allegedly, according to the book, he had these grandkids that he ignored, like totally ignored, and they'd come around and he'd be like, no, don't have time. And I noticed that it was quite interesting. This could be a huge topic one day, but the way that they'd written everything, it's all very like an homage to Picasso. Like they'd never sell that book in there.
No.
Which is interesting because it's part of the picture, it's part of the story, but it's so negative. But like I remember reading one thing on the wall that said his last wife kept everyone away when he was working. But in the book that I read, they described that same scene from the opposite way. Like she was this horrible gatekeeper that wouldn't let anyone in. Whereas in the book,
she welcomed the guests when Picasso wasn't able to.
Yeah, but also they acknowledged that she didn't let people in, but they said it in a way like to let him continue making masterpieces. So it was. I'd love to see a museum that showed both sides of great men and women from out the history. I feel like in Sweden they'd do that. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Sweden's like super open to... Anyway, that's a whole... It's got nothing to do with the third arrondissement.
Yeah,
you know what does?
No, what?
What we did next.
Oh, yes.
What we did from there is we took a walk down Rue de Touraine, which I stand by as one of the best streets in Paris for doors. I used to say it was the best until I went down Rue de Varennes.
Varennes to Rennes.
Yeah, if it ends in R-E-N-N-E, you're into a good thing. But we walked down there and we had a really early dinner because it was so hot and we were exhausted at Le Progrès. You spoke about Rue Bretagne before and people watching.
And this is on it.
This is where it's at.
Yeah.
If you're a foodie, you might be left disappointed.
I mean, it's just totally classic.
Yeah.
Bistro style. You know, they had the club sandwiches, you got your little Caesar salads. It's very standard. But
I think when you think about Paris and bistros, that's what you think about. The waiters were charming and had no nonsense approach. You know, like, but still charming. You know, they're so, like a diplomat. Yeah. They're so good at it. Like, he came and we'd chosen half, or we'd chosen the drinks. And I go, do you mind coming back? We haven't got the food. And he goes, we're open till 2. You take your time. And then disappeared. You know, like these kind of...
Yeah, so perfect.
Yeah, I loved it.
I'm a big fan of this place. It's one of the best spots for people watching.
They have, you know what I like about it? They have the bowl for bread that they latch onto the side of the table.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Big fan of that.
Yeah. Like a little, you know, on the scooter, the sidecar.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a sidecar of bread.
Reasonably priced. All the chairs are facing outwards. That's what you want.
Yeah.
If you want the bistro experience. Otherwise, you do as we did as well, as we went down to Mary Celeste.
Another really good spot. Bit of a Marais classic.
We initially thought to eat there. This was a tricky one because we thought to eat there and we thought to eat at Chez Genou, another famous old place around the corner.
But we hadn't really booked in time and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen.
And so even at Mary Celeste, they let us in for a drink, but not for dinner. And it was good. It was cool. A lot of, I think, celebs hang out there.
Yeah.
I think I heard once that Scarlett Johansson was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't she have a popcorn shop around the corner?
In the Marais as well. Whatever happened to the popcorn shop?
They are on your avocado toast.
That's the leftovers. But Mary Celeste, really good. A hip place to be. You said when we were there, at there and the Progrès, that they're the kind of place that Eddie should go, my brother, who's editing us right now. So I guess you're saying it's good for the young
and
creative
hip.
crowds. That sums up the Marais. But if you're not young and you're not hip, you'll still find good stuff to do. Like the museums, for example.
Oh, well, yeah, hip or not hip, you know.
Can hip people go to the museums too?
I don't know.
What were we doing there? The last thing we did before we get into our scores is we went to a bar recommended by our researcher, Charlotte. And she said go to the Cambridge Public House. And she reminded me, we'd been there before. And I'm going to give like the 50th shout out to Forrest Collins. Because last time I was there with you, we bumped into her there.
Yeah.
And that's so how you know it's a
good place.
Yeah. And they were really friendly staff.
Yeah, super friendly.
Really nice.
Yeah, it's cool and it's like pretty unassuming, like very relaxed.
And we got there, because we were there a bit early, we got chatting. We were sitting at the bar, chatting to the bartenders. Great place. And usually we stay out till like midnight. But the heat got to us and we were exhausted. We were like, let's call it.
Yeah.
So we called it after that as a full day.
Yeah.
And now's a good time to bring on the scores. we've got 5 topics we're ranking out of 10, and if Lena and I disagree, we'll discuss it. Otherwise, you've got an idea of how it ranks. It starts with strollability.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at the scores for last week, the 4th arrondissement, and they are crazy high, and I don't really know if I can top that.
Okay, yeah, me neither.
So, strollability, I put a 10.
I put 9.
You put a 9.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, there's 9 and 10's the same.
What was, yeah.
Well,
what did you put last week?
10, I think, yeah.
Oh,
well,
really?
I looked at the shape of the arrondissement,
yeah,
and I was like, it's long from side to side.
You didn't like the shape of it?
Also, hang on, I gave it a 9.
He's a shapist.
I gave it a 9. No, but also I thought there were a few streets where there wasn't much happening, whereas in the 4th it was like, you can't go wrong. Plus, I love the 4th.
Okay, whatever.
Hey, we agree more or less. What did you give for affordability?
I put a 4.
I gave it a 6.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Free Carnavalet Museum. Yeah. So there's an average of 5. That's pretty fair.
Cool.
Shareability. The idea of can you just take a picture and share it with your friends?
Most definitely yes.
What did you put?
I put a 10.
I put 8.
Okay, I'll put a 9.
No, you put a 10.
I'm going to put it 9.
No, we never change.
Okay.
10's fine.
10.
Touristability.
Yeah.
Tourist hits?
Yeah.
Did you put a 10 again?
Yeah.
That deserves a 10. I put 8.
You're being stingy here.
No, but I don't think 8 is stingy.
Well,
I also think like I gave a 10 to the 7th arrondissement where there's the Eiffel Tower and the Musée d'Orsay and stuff. I think a lot of people wouldn't know any of these tourist hits.
Yeah, but they should.
They should.
And that's why I gave it a 10.
Well, you're doing a whole different tense here.
Yeah, it's highly scientific, as you can hear.
How dare you call me stingy for an 8? If I got 8 out of 10 on a test, I'd be thrilled. Any test. Ever.
And that says a lot about us.
Accessibility, I gave 10.
Yeah, me too.
There you go. It's very accessible. Center of Paris.
Very.
You can walk all over it. Scores. What do yours add up to?
44.
Mine's 41. So that makes
Okay.
85.
Oh.
Very good score. I think that puts it in second place. I'm glad too because the 7th topped and then the 6th topped that and then 5th topped and the 4th topped.
Yeah.
It's time we go down again.
Yeah, put it in its place.
Yeah, put the 3rd in its place.
Yeah.
So that's it's still an exceptional score, and I think that gives all the reason that you need to go and visit if all the other things we've mentioned haven't. Lena, any last words?
No, see you next week
for the second where we used to live, where we started our Paris adventure. Get ready for a serious injection of nostalgia. Rue Montaguet, Rue Greneta.
Oh my goodness.
Our old stomping grounds. We'll see you guys then. Merci for listening to our podcast. And let's finish this countdown on a high. Let's do it.
All right.